Hello and welcome back to Ask Alan About Low Carb Cocktails. Today we're going to do something that's just a little bit different. I know that a lot of people would like to have a bar that they can make some cocktails or use just to enjoy with friends, but it can get really expensive. So what I wanted to do was go over some lower cost spirits that are actually pretty good. So this week, stay with me as we go over some of the lower cost but still good spirits. Hello and welcome back to Ask Alan About Low Carb Cocktails. So this week we're going to go over some lower cost spirits. Everything that I'm going to talk about has a decent taste, so any of these that you decide to buy, I think that you'll be pleased with, depending on how you use them, of course. And everybody's palate's different, so you'll have a different opinion on everything. But we'll talk about some of the alternatives that are higher priced, but we're going to mainly focus on what's good, what's in a reasonable cost range, and the things that you just want to have around just to be used for mixers. So the reason that I thought about doing this was a liquor store locally had earlier in the year posted something on their Facebook page with a picture that had a bunch of low-cost spirits. And these are just ones that they carried and that they recommended for things that are still good but are at a lower price. That liquor store is Benz Beverage Depot, and that's downtown Cedar Rapids. But so many of these are things that you can find in your local liquor stores as well. What they showed, and some of these I agree with, and some of them I think that there's something better. But they showed a number of things. I should have put a picture down here so you can see those, or just replace the picture, the full picture, so you can see them all for at least a few minutes. But definitely, there are some ones that I would agree with. They put things like a couple of bourbons, a lower proof bourbon, a higher proof bourbon, some ryes, vodka, gin. They even have a Japanese whiskey. I think that's a whiskey. I can't tell. It's clear, so it might be some other Japanese spirit. I really haven't tried any Japanese whiskeys or other spirits. But of course, and there's some tequila and some rums on that picture. But definitely, none of those are bad. But I wanted to give you the recommendations of things that I've had and that I enjoy to keep around. So we'll start off with my recommendation for some bourbons and ryes. So they had recommended an Old Forster for their base bourbon, and that's the baseline Old Forster. I think it's 86 proof. I've never bought it. The reviews I've seen of it say that it's okay, but it's not great. But I bought the Old Forster 100, and it's only a couple dollars more. I can usually get this for less than $25. So that's what I get instead, and that gives you a mid bottled and bond proof whiskey. But I'd also found this. This is, and I did a review on this, it's the Members Mark Small Batch Bourbon. This is actually bottled by 1792 Distillery. So 1792 is a decent bourbon. They have their better bourbons, which are the barrel proofs, full proof versions, but their baseline bourbon, usually you can get it at Sam's Club. It's actually $25. Elsewhere, I've seen it $30, $32. But this, you have to have a Sam's account, but this is $18.99. And it tastes the same as the 1792 bourbon. So it's only a couple proof points lower. They might have proofed it down. It might be a little bit younger, but I can't really tell the difference. So $19 for a really decent bourbon. One bourbon I'm not going to put in here is the Buffalo Trace. It has a sweeter taste. It had been a basic bourbon that you can get in the mid-20 range, but they have really limited supply or done. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but it's hard to find, and therefore when people get it, they jack the price up, and you can spend sometimes. Usually, I'm seeing it over $30 if I ever see it, and it's something that also I've seen as high as in the low 50s. So people, some people are really trying to take advantage of the shortages and charge a lot more for something that should be less than $30. But it is a good taste. But really, you're not going to beat $19 for a decent bourbon that's at a 90 proof, I believe this was. Along with the 100 proof Old Forester, a lot of people like the Evan Williams bottled Bourbon. I bought a bottle of that. It was around, you can get it on sale for maybe $18, $19, or it's more in the range of $20, $21, $22, $23 is normally what you find it, depending upon where you're at. But that's another one. It's a decent cost. It has an okay taste. I prefer the Old Forester, which is going to be in the same cost range. It's got a more peanutty taste and a little stronger taste, but it depends on your taste buds. Those are usually going to be low cost. This is really low cost. All of these are good. I like this better than the Evan Williams, but everyone's taste buds are going to be different. Then Rittenhouse is a bottled and bond rye, and I think I bought that. Let's see. I think I found that in the mid 20s, $25 to $30 range. So that when you're making cocktails with rye, that's a really good one to have. It's a lower cost, so and you can probably find it on sale or at discounts. I wanted to mention Wild Turkey 101 Rye and 101 Bourbon. That's got a distinct Wild Turkey taste. A lot of people like that taste, and that's something that that I think that you're going to find at a decent price. These are 1 liters. I got these also at Sam's Club. No, this is 750 milliliter. They have 1 liter bottles, I think, and they have 1.75 liters at Sam's. So these are in the low 20s, I think, as I recall. But you can also find the 1.75 liter bottles and get those at a decent price. So definitely check out Sam's Club prices. Costco is supposed to have decent prices too, but I've found Sam's to have on the lower end of the spirits, that they have a good selection of decent tasting, lower cost things. But anyway, so those are a couple more that you might want to try. So now we'll get into get away from the bourbons and whiskeys, and we will talk about the other spirits. One thing that I didn't mention was Old Grandad 114. That's also a very good one to have, and that's going to be in the usually $30 or less range. It's something that I've had. It's good, but it's creeping up a little higher in price. But that's getting you into the higher proof range whiskeys, and something that you might want to have, because the higher the proof goes, a lot of times that gives you a better taste of the whiskeys and bourbons. So normally whiskeys, bourbons, you don't want to really go below 90 typically. 90 to 110 is a good entry level proof range. Above 110, then you're getting stronger alcohol, and those you get different tastes, better tastes, but you have to be ready for that, because the higher proof is going to be harder on your palate if you're not used to it. The ones that I went through, those are in the 90 to 100 usually range. and that's those are ones that are low cost and good to have. So now the next thing we want to talk about is vodka. That's the standby. That's the one that's going to be low cost and has a good taste. Before I started looking at what vodka I should buy, and I've got a couple of them, some more expensive ones just to have to try. But vodka is a neutral spirit. It's not really supposed to have a taste. It's just supposed to be alcohol. But the thing of it is that most vodkas use a distilled spirit, usually made from corn, I think, that they get from. There's only a couple of manufacturers of the actual higher proof alcohol, and then they proof it down with their own local waters. And so the difference in taste you get is from the difference from the waters that are used. Tito's actually distills their own, I believe, so that they don't buy the base alcohol elsewhere. They have at their distillery they had grain bins, so they must be doing their own distilling. But this, again, I got this at Sam's Club, but it's a 1.75 liter, and I can't remember what I spent for that, but it was probably around $32, maybe less. But you can definitely get Tito's for probably in the $20, somewhere in the $20 range at your local liquor store. And when I was looking at different vodkas, I checked some reviews out, and I found some reviews where they were doing blind taste tests. And Tito's, on all those blind taste tests, were coming up in the higher range as far as best to worst. So the one that caught my eye was someone went through and did this, and this came in, I think, just one step below Grey Goose. Well, Grey Goose is much more expensive. I don't think I've ever bought it, but Stoli is another one that's supposed to be better, but people started getting that off the shelves back when the Russian conflicts started happening, because people were trying to get rid of anything from Russia. Well, it wasn't coming from Russia; it was actually coming from Poland, I believe. So you can probably find it out there. I did buy a bottle of Stoli back then because it was being cleared out, so I got it at a good price. But this, for vodka, Tito's is what I always have on hand. Next, we will talk about gin. Now, I don't have it anymore because it was cheap, and I used it in some gin drinks. I don't make a lot of gin drinks, but I actually had bought some gin from it was Barton's. It was a Barton's London Dry. You can find that. I see that when I check prices out. It's less than $10 for a 750 milliliter bottle. I got it. It was closeout at Sam's Club again, and they had it for less than $5. So I bought a couple bottles back then. They don't carry it anymore at Sam's. I thought that the taste was decent. I'm not a gin person, so I don't know a lot about gin, but that's one that definitely was worth getting. I did get this Miles, which is I think out of Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. One of the liquor stores around here had gotten a truckload of this. It seems like they just had cases and cases of it. They don't. The guy there, he's really into bourbons, but he had gone down to the distillery where this is made, and it's one that he thought was really good taste for gin. So he bought a whole bunch of it and was selling it for, I don't know, it was pretty cheap. It was maybe $10. I don't know if that's normally what you'd find this for. I don't even know if you can find this, but this was another gin that he had sample bottles, and I tried it, and as far as I know, it's pretty good. But that's definitely one that I think that this is another London Dry. This is one that if you can find and it's low cost, definitely get it because it does taste decent. You can buy the more expensive things, the Hendrix and others, but unless you're really into gin and you really want to get the ones that you really, really like, these lower cost ones for me does a fine job. I know that Aviation Gin, it's an American gin, and it's a higher price, not too high, but it actually has a pretty good taste. Doesn't have that heavy herbal taste of most of the London dry gins, which have a heavier juniper taste. This has more of a juniper taste. Aviation Gin, it's not featured here because it's higher price, but if you want to try an American gin and one that Ryan Reynolds had something to do with, then that's one to check out. So now we're going to get into rums. Most people think of rum and they think of Bacardi. Well, Bacardi does a cold filtering, I believe, on their rums. It actually takes out some of that rum funk, and maybe you don't like the rum funk, but that more grassy taste, which is more of in an agricole, or the taste you get from the dunder that's used when they do the process. They kind of save back stuff from previous runs of their stills and put that in the next batch, and that starts to give a little bit of a funk to the taste to the rum. So Don Q is also made in Puerto Rico, I think, which is it's Puerto Rican rum, same place as Bacardi, but this doesn't do that filtering process, and so this has a little bit of funk flavor to it. It's typically cheaper than Bacardi, and if usually I can find it for less than $20. I've seen it for as low as 12 or 13 on sale, but normally it's been running around $16, $17. But that's for a 750 milliliter. But if you can find it, and it's not that easy in Iowa to find it, but if you can find it in a 1.75 milliliter bottle, you can sometimes find this for like $23, $24 for a 1.75 liter. That is a really good price, and that's more than that's 2 1/3 times a 750 milliliter. So if you can find it for that sub $25 range for a 1.75 liter bottle, you're not going to find a better rum at that low of a price. Now, another white rum that is really pretty good is Plantation, or now it's Plantaray. They changed their name, 3-star. And the Plantaray products, Plantation / Plantaray, all of them are good. Every one of them is good. They have their lower priced things, and then this Plantation 3-star is kind of a staple. A lot of bars use it, but it's definitely something you might want to have on hand. I'd get the Don Q first, just because it's going to be lower price and it's good taste. But this is also a very good taste, so it's something you might want to consider. I don't have off the top of my head a price on that, so I didn't look it up. But as I recall, it's in the low 20 range. Sometimes you can probably find it on sale for less, but definitely it's a lower price and a good rum to have. It's really good in a daiquiri. For a darker rum, I have Appleton Estate 8 Reserve. That is probably around $30. It's Appleton Estate Signature is their entry level, and that is in the low 20s typically. You'll want to look around, make sure you get it someplace that's got it for a good price, because different liquor stores are going to moderate their price on what they think they can get for things. But you're not going to find many that are this good, and this is a Jamaican rum. You're going to find the Appleton Estate Signature for a low price, and it's a good rum to have. I just prefer the 8. Spend a little bit more to get a little more flavor. I didn't go over any of the higher end rums or higher end bourbons. That's those I am doing reviews on some of those, so you'll see that in other videos. But again, this is what you can get for lower price. So the one that I haven't touched on yet is tequila. This is a difficult one to do because tequilas are not that easy to get for the good tequilas in Iowa. Some of that stuff is just the distribution must not be good, because I keep hearing about these ones that are really great and want to get, and I just can't find them around here. The one that's always on the shelf is Jose Cuervo, and I used to have that around just for using it in a tequila drink. And sure, if you want to do that, then fine. But I found that it just does not have a good taste to me. You might like it, but I really don't. It's not 100% agave, blue agave, and true tequila is supposed to be 100% blue agave. I think they call Jose Cuervo a mixed dose, which is part blue agave, but part anything else. And it could be vodka, as far as I know. I'm really not sure. But that is just the taste. It doesn't have a taste that's great. You wouldn't want to drink it on its own. If you're drinking it in a mixed cocktail, they sell a lot of it. So, but there's a lot of lower end tequilas, and I'm not that well versed on what's good or not. But mostly the tequilas have crept up a little bit in price, and the good tequilas you can rarely find. So I did find Tequila Ocho, and this is not low cost. The ones that were mentioned on Benz Beverage Depot, like El Mayor, that's a decent tequila. I have had the Reposado and the Año, and they're not really expensive, but they're definitely in a lower price range, and so they're decent for a lower price range mixer. But this Tequila Ocho is something that has a really good taste. I had watched another channel called the Tequila Hombre, and he kind of tastes different tequilas and gives his impression. When he tasted the Tequila Ocho, he said this is a tequila that has a high-end taste for a lower cost. I found this at Walmart, and it was higher than their Jose Cuervo, but it was like $49, I think. So if you're spending $50 on a tequila that is actually really good, and what I've heard from people who know tequilas, it's as good as many of the higher end ones. That's a decent price. So it's not a cheap one. I'd like to be able to tell you more about the lower cost tequilas, but I'm not that well versed in them. So I just wanted to point out this one is a very good tasting one, even though it's a little higher price, but it's not as high priced as other ones that it would give a run for their money. So that's it for the spirits. The one thing that I wanted to also mention is bitters, especially with whiskey drinks and with some of the rum drinks. You need to have bitters, and there's a lot of different bitters out there. But most of the time, Angostura bitters is the one that's called for in most of the most drinks that you're going to be making, especially bourbon type drinks. Sometimes they'll want to use Peychaud's, if I'm saying that correctly. But this is a very different taste. I bought a bottle of this years ago, and I still have most of it. The other thing that you'll probably want to have, and there's different brands that make orange bitters, but if you're going to have two bitters, get the Angostura and get one of the orange bitters. The reason I have this larger bottle of Angostura is it's the bitters that's almost always called for in a lot of drinks, but it can get expensive. But this larger bottle, if you can find it, is significantly cheaper per ounce than the smaller bottle. So if your store carries this larger bottle, go ahead and get this. It'll last you forever. Once you get this once, then that'll be probably the last time you'll ever have to get it. Or get the smaller one, because that will still last you a while. But I have gone through more than one bottle of the smaller one, but I haven't had to replace this larger one yet. So that's it. That gives you an idea of reasonably priced spirits, and a few other things like the bitters that you'll want to have if you want to be able to make a few cocktails. That's not touching on the mixers, the sodas, which I always use diet colas, or the different juices, and I always try to get light juices. You can look at my other videos on syrups. There's a lot of low or no carb syrups you can get, and those are not necessarily as good as what you're going to get as the higher end syrups that are made for bartenders. But if you're trying to do low carb, then you want to use the low carb versions. And most alcohols, the alcohol starts from sugars. Rum starts from molasses or sugar cane. Bourbons are mostly corn, but rye also, and wheat and other grains. Vodka usually is made from corn, but it can also be made from potatoes or other things. But it's the sugars and the blue agave. It's the sugars from the blue agave. So it's those sugars in those grains or fruits or whatever that convert to alcohol, but then it's not sugar anymore, it's alcohol. So the alcohol gets into your system much, much, much slower. So it's not like taking something like a sugary drink, your blood sugar spikes. With alcohol, it will go up later, but slowly, and usually your insulins will take care of that. So that's why with alcohol, I'm not going to tell you that it won't affect your blood sugar, but I will tell you that the alcohol is not like drinking something that is sugary, because alcohol itself is not a sugar, it's an alcohol, and it is absorbed completely differently. So, not a doctor, that's just what I've learned from my experience, but definitely take a look at these alcohols, and other than this one, which was a little higher price, but it's something that I'd spend a little more to get this. But there are definitely some lower cost options for all of these, for all types of spirits, and these are some of the ones that I think are best. I hope you have found some benefit out of this. I ask you to like and subscribe, and definitely comment and give me your input on this. Let me know what you think of the ones that I've brought out. Ones that tell me what ones you think are better or lower cost, or anything that you think are ones that I should try or look for, or other people reading the comments would like to hear about. And that way, we can all learn these things together. Share this with your friends. Let them know about this channel, and help to grow this community. And that's it for today. So have a good day, and I'll see you next week.